Alright, back to the 242. We're reading CFR Part 242. It's embedded in the Conductor Certification Final Ruling. We've read most of the rule-making provisions, and now we're reading the actual code. So Part B, Program Eligibility Requirements 242-101 Certification Program is required after patent and specified in Section 242-105D and E that each railroad shall have a certification program approved in accordance with 242-103 and it's included the designation of the type of the service determined will be used in compliance with the criteria established in 242-107. Procedure evaluation prior safety conduct complies with the criteria established in 242-109. Procedure evaluation visual hearing acuity complies with the criteria established in 242-117. The training procedure of training complies with the criteria established in 242-119. The procedure of knowledge and testing complies with the criteria established in 242-121, and in procedure monitoring operational performance in compliance with the criteria established in 242-123. B is reserved. 242-103 approved the designing of the individual railroad programs of the FRA. Each railroad should submit a written certification program requesting the approval in accordance with the procedure contained in the Appendix B of this part, according to the following schedule: Class 1 Railroad, including National Railroad Passenger Corporation. Class 2, the railroad providing the commuter services shall submit a program no later than March 30th, 2012. A Class 3 railroad, including switching terminal and other railroad not otherwise classified, shall submit the program no later than July 30th, 2012. A railroad commencing an operation pertinent to the data date specified in the paragraph A of the section shall submit the written certification program requested approval in accordance with the procedure contained in Appendix B that is part of the lease of the 60-day prior to the commencing operation. Each railroad shall, 1, simultaneously file with the FRA service the copy of the submission filed with the pursuant of the A, B, and of the section resubmission of the file pursuant to the paragraph H of the section material modification file pursuant to the paragraph I of the section. President of each labor organization will represent the railroad's employees subject to this part, and 2, include the submission file pursuant to the paragraph A and B of this section, submission file pursuant to the paragraph H of the section, material modification file pursuant to the paragraph I of this section statement and affirming that the railroad, having served as a company of the copy of the president of each labor organization as the representation railroad employees, such as the part, together with a list of names and address of the person served. D, not later than 45 days from the filing of submission pursuant to paragraph A and B of the section, resubmission pursuant to paragraph H of the section, material modification pursuant to the section, paragraph 1 of the section. Any designated representative of railroad employees such objective that may comment on the submission, resubmission of material modification. 1, each comment sets specifically based upon the made of the content, consistent statement of the interest, commentary, and proceeding. Each comment shall be submitted to the Associated Administrative Railway Safety Chief Safety Officer, FRA, 1200 New Jersey Avenue, Southeast Washington, DC 20590. The commentator shall certify the copy of the comment was served on the railroad. The submission required for the paragraph A, B of this section shall state the railroad election either 1, to accept the training of the conductor, thereby obtaining the authority of the railroad initially certify a person for the conductor in the appropriate type of service. 2, to recertify only conductors previously certified over other railroads. A railroad that elects accept the responsibility for the training of the conductor shall meet the submission whether in conduct of the training program employ the training programs conducted on some other entity the behalf of the adopted ratified with the railroad. G, a railroad program is considered approved and may be implemented in 30 days after the required filing date or actual filing date unless the administrator notifies the railroad in writing the program does not conform with the criteria set forth in this part. 1, if the administrator determines the program does not conform, the administrator will inform the railroad of the specific deficiency. 2, if the administrator informs the railroad of the deficiency more than 30 days after the initial filing date, the original program may remain ineffective until the 30th day of approval. Revised program revised as long as the railroad has complied with the requirements of paragraph H of this section. H, a railroad shall resubmit the program within 30 days of the date of such notice of deficiency or failure to resubmit the program with the necessary revisions. Consider the failure to implement the program under this part. 1, the administrator will inform the railroad in writing whether it is reserved from the conforms to this part. If the program does not conform to the railroad, resubmit the program. 1, a railroad has intended with the material modify the program after receiving the initial FRA approval, so will submit the description of how it intends to modify the the program conforming to specific requirements in part at least 60 days prior to the implementation of such a change. One, the modification is material and would affect the program's conformance with its parts. The modification submission shall contain a description of the conformance portion of the procedure contained in Appendix B of this part. The modification submission will be handled in accordance with the procedures paragraph G and H of this section that were a new program. 242-105 Schedule of Implementation. By March 1st, 2012, each railroad shall have in writing designated the certificate conductor person authorized the railroad to perform duties of the conductor as in January 1st, 2012. Issues the certificate complies with statute 242-207 to each of the person designated. After 1st March 2012, each railroad shall have in writing designated certified conductor any person who has been authorized railroad to perform duties from the conductor of January 1st, 2012, pertaining to data date of the paragraph D and E of the section. 2. The issuance certification of the complies with the statute 242-207 in each of these persons designated. C. No railroad shall permit the require the person designated certified conductor under the provisions of A and B of the section to perform the service of the certified conductor for more than 36 months before the beginning of the pertinent data of compliance with the mandatory procedures, testing, evaluation set forth the applicable provisions of D and E of this section, unless the person has been certified in accordance with the procedure to comply with the subpart B of this part, except for the provided with C3 of the section. The person who has designated a certified conductor under this provision, paragraph A and B of this section, who is eligible to receive the retirement pension in accordance with the terms of the applicable agreement in accordance with the terms of Railroad Retirement Act of Title 45 U.S. Standard Code 231, and within 36 months of the pertinent data for the compliance with the mandatory procedures for the testing, evaluation, set forth the applicable provision of the paragraph D and E of the section, may request written in writing that the railroad would not certify the person pursuant to subpart B of this part until 36 months of the pertinent date of the compliance with the mandatory procedures for the testing, evaluation, set forth the applicable provisions of the paragraph D and E of this section. 3. Upon the receipt of the written request, paragraph C1 of this section, the railroad may wait to certify the person making the request upon the end of the 36 months described in paragraph C of this section. The railroad grants and requests the most of the grant requests of all the eligible persons are ever to extent possible. 3. All persons who are subject to recertification under paragraph 240 of the chapter may not make a request into pursuant to paragraph C1 of the section after June 1st of 2012. No Class 1, including the National Railroad Passenger Corporation, Class 2 of the railroad, or providing commuter services shall initially recertify a person conductor unless the person has been tested, evaluated in accordance with the procedures complying with subpart B of this part of the issuing certificate and is complies with 242-207. After October 1st, 2012, no Class 3 railroad, including switching the terminal and other railroad otherwise classified, shall initially certify and recertify a person conductor unless the person has been tested, evaluated in accordance with procedures to comply with the subpart B of this part issued, and the certificate complies with statute 242-207. After the applicable dates specified in D and E of this section, no person shall serve as the conductor in any type of the service, and no railroad shall require or permit any of the served conductor in any type of the service unless the person has been evaluated in accordance with the procedures that comply with the subpart B of this issued certificate complies with statute 242-207. 242-107. Each railroad program, each railroad program shall state within two types of service, conductor, passenger, or conductor. Provided the paragraph B of the section will cover, the railroad may issue certificates to either the following type of the service: conductor, passenger, conductor, or rail shall not reclassify the certification any type of the certified conductor, different type of the conductor certification during the period in which the certification otherwise valid expects what the conductor completes the emergency training and identifying the Part 239 chapter in the certified passenger conductor. Each railroad is authorized to impose additional conditions, operational restrictions service conductor may perform and beyond the identified with the section, provided with the conditions restrictions are not inconsistent of this part. Part 242-109 determinations required certification recertification. After pertinent data of the statute 242-105 D and E, that each of the railroad prior to the initial certification, recertification, any person as a conductor shall, in accordance with the FRA approved program, determine written that the individual meets the eligibility requirements of 242-111 and 113, 115, and 403. The individual meets the vision, hearing, and acuity standards of 242-117 visioning, hearing, and acuity. The individual necessary knowledge in demonstrating the successful completing the test requirements of 242-121 knowledge and testing. When a person has previously been certified, the person completed the training program has that met the requirements of Statute 242-119 training. When the evaluating personnel prior to the safety conductor of the railroad shall not consider information concerning the prior conduct that 1 occurred prior to the effective date of this rule, 2 occurred at the time other than specifically provided in Statute 242, 111, and 115, and 403. In order to determine required under the paragraph 8 of the section, the railroad shall have to file the documents pertaining to those determinations. D, a railroad program shall provide a candidate certification, recertification, responsibility, opportunity to review the commenting and the writing of any record which contains information concerning the person's prior safety conduct, including information pertaining to the determinants required in the statute 242, 111, 115. 115. The railroad believes the record contains the information that could be insufficient to render the ineligible certification under the subpart. E, the opportunity for commitment afforded the person prior to the railroad and rendering an eligibility decision based on information rendered responsible shall be retained by the railroad according to 242-203F. The program shall be included in method of the person to advise the railroad to do it. He or she has never been railroad employed or obtained a license of driving motor vehicle. Notice that nothing in the section that has been shall be construed and impose the duty of the requirement of the person having the prior railroad employment experience obtaining a motor vehicle driver's license in order to become certified conductor. Nothing in the section of 242.11 and 242.11.13 shall be constructed to prevent persons subject from entering an agreement that results in a railroad obtaining the information needed for the compliance of subpart D, subpart in a different manner of the prescribed 242.11 and 242.11.13. 242.11. Prior to the safety conduct of the motor vehicle operator, each railroad shall adopt and comply with the program meeting the requirements of the section. When any person, including but not limited to a railroad officer, supervisor, employee, violates any of the requirement program complies with the requirements of this section, the paragraph person shall be considered to have violated the requirements of the section, except for provided in C, D, E, and F of the section after pertinent date specified in 242.105 D. Each railroad prior to the initial certifying recertification person of the conductor for any type of the type shall be determined that the person must meet eligible requirements of the section involving the prior conduct of the motor vehicle. A railroad shall initially certify as the conductor of the 60 days after the person requesting information required by paragraph H of the section at least 60 days prior to the date of the decision certifying the person. 2. Otherwise, most eligible requirements provided in statute 242-109. D. The railroad shall recertify a person as a conductor for 60 days for the expiration date of the person's certification person. If the person 1. Requested information required to the paragraph H of the section at least 60 days prior to the date of the decision recertifying the person. 2. Otherwise means the eligibility provided in statute 242.109, except for the otherwise paragraph F of the section. If railroad officer recertified person pursuant paragraph C and D of this section does not obtain evaluated information required pursuant to paragraph H of the sections within 60 days of the pertinent data is identified with the paragraph C and D of the section, the person will be ineligible to perform the conductor until the information is evaluated. If the person requests the information required for the paragraph H of this section but is unable to obtain it, the person of the railroad certifying and recertification may petition the waiver of the requirements of paragraph B of this section in accordance with the provision in Part 211 in Chapter. Railroad shall recertify a person during the pendency of the waiver request if the person otherwise meets the eligibility requirements provided in 242.109. G. The individual duties except for the person designated as the conductor under statute 242.105, the other persons covered in 242.109. Each person seeking certification, recertification under this part within 366 days preceding the date of the railroad decision of certification, recertification, take the action required by paragraph H and J of this section, making information concerning the driving record available for the railroad that is considering such certification, recertification, taking additional actions including provisions any necessary consent of the state and foreign law to make information concerning his or her driving record available for the record. H, as in each person seeking certification, recertification under the part of the requesting written in writing, the chief and each driver of the license agency identified in the paragraph of this section provided a copy of the agency's available information concerning his or her driving record to the railroad considering such certification, recertification. Each person shall request information required and paragraph H of this section from the chief of the driver license agency of the jurisdiction of the state, foreign country, to that last issued the person's driver's license issued. 2. The chief of the driver's license agency, any other jurisdiction with the state of the foreign countries that issued, reissued the person's driver's license with the pen preceding 5 years. If advised with the railroad driver's license agency informed that the railroad additional information concerning the person's driving history may exist, the file states an agency foreign country previously contacted in accordance with sections such as person shall 1. It requests in writing the chief of the driver license agency which comply with the information provided with a copy of available information of the prospective certifying the railroad. Take additional action required with the state and federal foreign law and obtain additional information. And K. Any person who has never obtained a motor vehicle driver's license is not required to comply with the provision of paragraph H of the section shall notify the railroad of the fact in accordance with the procedural railroad that comply with statute 242-109. 11. Each certified conductor person seeking the initial certification shall report motor vehicle incidents described in paragraph N1 and 2 of the section employing the railroad within 48 hours of convicted, completed with the state action, canceled, revoked, or suspended, denying of the motor vehicle driver's license such as violation for the purpose of the paragraph N of the section. State action means action the jurisdiction issued a motor vehicle driver's license, including in the foreign country for the purpose of the conductor certification. The railroad shall require reporting earlier than 48 hours after the commission completed with the state action of the cancel, revoking, denying the motor vehicle driver's license. And the evaluation the evaluation of the person's motor vehicle driving record shall not consider information concerning motor vehicle driving incidents that occurred 1. prior to the effective date of this rule, 2. more than 36 months more than in the railroad is making the certified decision, 3. at the time other than the specified provided in 242.11 and 242.115 and 242.104.03, a railroad shall not only consider information concerning the following types of motor vehicles incidents. 1. A conviction or completed stated action of cancel, revoking, suspending, or denying a motor vehicle license operating motor vehicle while other influences impaired with alcohol and controlled substances. A conviction complete with the state action of the cancel, revocation, suspending, denying motor vehicle license as a refusal undergoing the testing of the required of the state foreign law enforcement officials to determine whether a person is operating the vehicle while the influence of alcohol or controlled substance. If as such an instance is identified, the railroad shall provide the data with the railroad drug alcohol counselor together with the information concerning the person's railroad service record, and the shall refer to the person evaluation to determine the person of the active substance abuse disorder. The person shall operate the evaluation should provide a requested record to the provider personnel treatment of the review of the exclusive drug alcohol counseling context of the such evaluation. 3. If a person evaluated is not currently affected with the active substance abuse disorder, the subject data does not show that considering the following the further respects of the certification. However, the railroad shall recommend a drug alcohol counselor condition certification upon the participation in need of aftercare and following up the testing of alcohol drugs deemed necessary by the drug alcohol counselor consistent with the technical standards specified in 242.11.15. If the person evaluated currently affected with the active substance abuse disorder provision 242.115 will apply. If the person fails to comply with the requirements of paragraph 02, the subsection person shall be ineligible to perform as a conductor in such time the person complies with the requirements. 242.11.13. Prior to safety conducting, the employee is a different railroad. Each of the railroad shall adopt and comply with the program complies with the records of this section, while any of the person indicates not limited to the required railroad officer, supervisor, employee violates the requirements of the program, which complies with the requirements of the section. The person shall be considered as violated requirements of the section after the pertinent data of the section 242.105D and E of each of the railroad initial certification, recertification as part of the person as a conductor for any type of the service shall be determined in the person of eligibility requirements of the section. See the except for the person designated designated as a conductor under 242.105A and B for any person under 242.109F, and each person seeking certification, recertification under this part within 366 days preceding the date of the railroad decision, certification, recertification, the request in writing and the chief operating officer other than appropriate person or former employee of the railroad providing a copy with the railroad availability information concerning his or her service record compliance with the non-compliance of statute 242.111, 242.115, 242-403, the railroad considering such certification, recertification, taking additional action, including the provisions necessary to consistent with the state and federal laws to make up the information concerning his or her record available to the railroad. 242.11.5 Substance abuse disorder and alcohol drug compliance. Each railroad shall adopt and comply with the program and the compliance with the requirements of this section with any of the person included but not limited to railroad officer, supervisor, employer violates the requirement of the program and the compliance with the requirements of the section. The person shall be considered violated requirement of this section after the pertinent data of the section 242.105D and each of the railroad initially certifying and recertifying any of this person as conductor for any of the type of the service shall determine the person meets the eligible requirements of this section. C. The in order of determination required within the paragraph D of this section, railroad shall have been filed document is pertinent to the determination and written documentation of the drug alcohol counselor which states the professional opinion that the person has been evaluated currently affected substance abuse disorder. The person has been evaluated effective for the active substance abuse disorder. D. The fitness requirement of a person who is active for substance abuse disorder shall be denied certification, recertification as conductor. 2. Except for the provided by the G of the section, the certified conductor determining the active substance abuse shall be ineligible to hold certification consistent with the provision of the part certification and reinstatement provided in paragraph F of this section. 3. In the case of the current employee, railroad evaluated having active substance abuse disorder, including personnel identified with the procedure statute 242.111, the employee may and otherwise eligible voluntarily self-refer to the substance abuse counseling treatment under the policy of 219.409 of this chapter. The railroad shall treat the substance abuse evaluation confidentially except for the respective ineligibility recertification. Prior to the alcohol drug conduct federal rule compliance, the determination whether the person may remain certified as a conductor of railroad shall be considered in conduct described in paragraph E2 of the certification of the section that occurred with the period of 60 consecutive months prior to the review. Review certification shall be initiated prior to the occurrence of documentation of any incident of the conduct that is described. 2. A railroad shall consider any violation 219.101 and 219.102 of this chapter. Refuse to provide breath or bodily fluid sample with the testing under requirements 219 of this chapter that is instructed to do so in railroad representative. 3. A period of eligibility described in section begins 1. The person not currently certified on the date of the railroad written determination must recently incident has occurred. 2. The further person currently certified on the date of the railroad notification on the person recertification has denied certification is revoked. And 4. The eligible described for the section determined in accordance with the following standards. 1. In the case of single violation of 219.102, the chapter of the prohibited person shall be ineligible to hold the certificate during evaluation as required prior to treatment as described in paragraph F of this section. In the 2 cases of the violation 219.102, this person shall be eligible to hold the certificate for a period of 2 years. In case of the more than 2 such violations, the person shall be ineligible to hold the certificate for a period of 5 years. In case of the violation of this of 219.102, the chapter 1 violation of 219.101, the chapter person shall be ineligible to certify as a period for 3 years. In case of the 1 violation of 219.109, the chapter person shall be ineligible to certify the period of 9 months of the rules unless identification violation has been qualifying a co-worker as described in 219.405. The chapter conductor believes investigation in which case the certificate was deemed and suspended and during evaluated required prior to treatment as described in paragraph F. In the case of 2 more violations of 219.109, the chapter person shall be ineligible to hold certificate for a period of 5 years. A refusal to provide breath or body fluid sample testing under the requirements of Part 219 when instructed to do so by the railroad representative shall be treated for purpose of ineligibility under the paragraph in the same manner of violation. Say Action 219.102, the chapter in case of the refusal provided the urine specimen specimen for testing. The section 219.101 chapter in the case of the refusing of the providing the breath sample, alcohol testing, blood specimen, or mandatory post-accident and toxicological testing. F. The future eligibility of holding certificate following the alcohol drug violation. The following requirements apply to the rule. Person who is denied certification, who has certification suspended, revoked as a result of the conduct described in paragraph E of this section. L. The person shall not eligible to grant reinstatement of the certificate unless otherwise person either being evaluated in the substance abuse professional to determine if the person currently has been active substance abuse disorder. 2. Successfully completed with any program consulting with the treatment and determined necessary by the substance abuse prior to the returning of the service. 3. In accordance with the testing procedure, subpart H of the Part 219 chapter, had alcohol testing alcohol concentration less than 0.02 and presented the urine sample and had tested negative for controlled substances as said. A conductor placed in the service return to the service under the above conditions shall continue in the program. Counseling treatment deemed unnecessary to the substance abuse professional shall be subject to the reasonable program following up the alcohol drug testing with prior notice of the period of not more than 16 months of the following the return to service. Following up the flat test should include fewer than 6 alcohol tests, 6 drug tests during the 12 months following the return service. Return service following up alcohol drug testing shall be performed consistent with requirements of subpart H of the Part 12 chapter. 4. The paragraph does not create an entitlement to utilize the service of a railroad substance abuse professional to avoid the leave of the employment of the council treating in the two employees as a conductor, nor does a discretion available for the railroad take disciplinary action of the conductor described herein. G. Confidentially protected. Nothing but the part affected with the responsibility railroad of the 219-403 in the chapter of the voluntary referral policy, the treatment of the voluntary referral substance abuse counseling, treatment of the confidentially certification status for the conductor who successfully is assisted under the procedure section and should not adversely affect it. However, the railroad shall include voluntary referral policy required to be issued pursuant to 219-403 of this chapter, the provision and lease of the respective certified conductor candidate of the certification policy confidentially waived to the extent the railroad shall receive substance abuse professional drug alcohol counseling. Official note of the substance abuse disorder shall be suspended, revoked certification as appropriate if a person at any time refuses the corporate recommended course of treatment. 242.17 Vision and hearing acuity. Each person shall adopt and comply with the program with the compliance with the requirement of the section which any person, including but not limited to railroad officer, supervisor, employee violates any requirement of the program complies with the requirements of this section that the person shall consider as violated requirements of this section. B. Before the pertinent data specified in 242.105 and E, the railroad prior to the initial certifying, recertifying of any person conductor for any class of service shall determine the person's meet the standard for visual acuity, hearing any acuity prescribed in section C. In order to determine required under paragraph B of this section, the railroad shall have one file either a medical examiner certificate that the individual has medically examined and meets the acuity standards. 2. Written document that the medical examiner documentation that his or her professional opinion that does not meet the one of the both acuity standards, stating the basis for his or her determination. The person can nevertheless be certified under certain conditions. 2. The person acuity and such person cannot safely perform as a conductor even with conditions attached. Any examination required in compliance with the section shall be performed under the supervision of medical examiner or licensed physician assistant such that 1. A licensed optometrist and technical responsibility is the personal performing portion of the examination to pertain to visual acuity. A licensed certified audiologist is technician responsible for the performing may perform personal portion of the examination pertaining to the hearing acuity. If the examination required under the section is disclosed that the person needs the corrective lenses or hearing aid, both in either to meet the threshold acuity levels established in the section, meet the lower threshold determined the railroad medical examiner is sufficient to perform as a conductor of the fact, should be noted that the certified issued in accordance with the provision of this part. If any person who with such certification notification shall be relevant to the corrective devices while performing to the conductor, unless the railroad medical examiner subsequently determines in writing the person can safely perform without using devices. Fitness requirement. In order to currently certify to the conductor except for the permitted paragraph J of this section, a person vision and hearing meet the exceeding standards prescribed in the section appendix D of this part, they recommended each of the tests conducted pursuant to this section shall be performed according to the directions applied in the manufacturing of such tests as American National Standard Institute standards of applicability. H, as provided in the J of this section, each person shall have the visual acuity that exceeds the threshold for the distance view, either the distant view visual acuity of 20 to 40 Snellen in each eye with corrective lenses. 2. The distance visual acuity substituted corrected at least to 20/40 needle and corrective lenses. Distant binocular activities at 20/40 in both eyes without full corrective lenses. A field of vision at least 70 degrees horizontal meridian of the eye. 3. The additional recognizing distinguish between the colors and railroad signals demonstrated successfully completing one of the tests in Appendix E. Accepting providing J of the section, each of the person shall have a hearing audiogram that shows the person hearing acuity and shall exceed the following thresholds. The person does not have an average hearing loss and better ear greater than 40 decibels with or without less of the hearing of the 500 hertz, 100 hertz, or 2000 hertz. The hearing tested audiogram shall meet the requirements of one of the following as required in Title 29 CFR 1910.95H. O shall as required in Statute 22711 one of the chapter conducting the use of the automotor that meets the specifications that are maintained in accordance with the ANSI S36 2004 specification autometer. Person not meeting the threshold of the paragraph H and 1 of this section shall upon request be subject to further medical evaluation, but railroad medical examiner to determine personal ability safely as the person, the conductor, in accordance with the guidance and in the prescribed in Appendix D to this part is entitled to one of the retests of the making and the showing and another retest of the person providing substanding circumstances change in the least since the last extent of the person shall safely perform. The conductor of the railroad shall provide the medical examiner with a copy of this part, including all appendix, if and after the consultation of the railroad officer, the medical examiner concludes to dispute the meaning of the threshold paragraph H and 1, H and I. The person shall have ability to safely conduct the person being certified as a conductor in such a certification condition of the special restriction medical examiner determines the written necessary. K. As a condition maintaining certification, each certified conductor shall notify his employee medical department that such department is as existing appropriate railroad official, the person being best corrected vision, hearing deteriorated existing person no longer meeting one or more of the prescribed vision standards requirements of section notification required prior to any subsequent performance of conductor. 242.119.20 242.119 training.